Welcome to the Art of Lifting podcast. Today, I am joined by Jurins. I don't think you really need much of an intro. I think everyone listening will know more like who you are. You GB treasure at this point. I wanted to start off, I have not had you on here yet, with one of my favorite questions, because I actually don't know this. Everyone knows that you've been around basically forever. 2016, your first meet? But how did you actually find powerlifting?
For me, powerlifting was an accident. It was just something, I didn't know what powerlifting was. As a young man, every single young man growing in London, I was a footballer, right? I played semi-pro football until I got injured. And then I went back and my African dad was like, "You're going back to school, my son." I was like, even though the club, which was Bradford that back then, said, "Look, he's a very good player. So all you need to do is just heal the injury, go through the rehab process, and bring him back here." We live in London. I said I used to go and play in Bradford every day. Dad, every week, Dad used to drive me twice to go and play football. But again, because the injury happened in front of him, he could not bear seeing me being in that much pain. And he said, "Nah, we're done. Go back home. You're going back to do your A-levels and go to university." So again, like, long story short, I was 16, 17 then. Of course, I hated sports because all I wanted to be is a footballer, right? I hated sport. Try a little bit of course, rugby for fun, but yeah, I couldn't do that. So I just hated sport completely. So when I turned 20, I think I was 27 or 28, I just went to the gym, right? Just to lift some weight and, yeah, just be physically fit, to be honest. And I moved from East London to North London, literally 2 months later. That was February 2016. I was at Pure Gym. So I go almost like, I liked seeing people lifting a lot of plates on the bar, right? I wanted to be that strong. So I got to this Pure Gym in North London. I saw this Asian brother benching. This is my friend Joey. And I was like, "Look, is there anybody in this gym that actually lifts heavy weights? Because I want to be able to lift strong people, not in a commercial gym where you see people throwing plates left, right, and center thinking they're strong. I really want to get strong." He was like, "Oh, do you mean powerlifting?" I was like, "What the fuck is that?" He was like, "It's a sport." I was like, "I've never heard of it, mate. All I want to do is I just want to squat, bench, and deadlift heavy." He was like, "Yeah, but it's powerlifting." I was like, "Mate, I don't know that. I just want to know who does it here so I can start training with them." And then he said, "Oh, me and my friends do it. So if you come this day and so, of course you can join us." So that's where it started with me, so really. So didn't have a squat at all. I think my score was like 130, 140. Funny enough, my bench was bigger than my squat.
Yeah.
When I started, yes, I had Harry Potter bench where the ass is all the way up Eiffel Tower and my toes are like that. But I could still bench like 145. When I started, and deadlifts has always been around, I think I pulled 185, 200 kilos, I think, when I started. So, but first time I went to the gym, deadlift, of course, I pulled 175. First time ever deadlifting. So, yeah, that's where I started powerlifting. So, Joe introduced me into powerlifting. I par accident, I didn't know what it was. That was February 2016. And around July, that's when I did my first meet.
Yeah, and mentioning Joey there as well. So Joey coached you, didn't he? From like,
yes, he did.
Until you went to Christian, a couple years ago now?
Yeah, Joey was my coach from that time all the way to 2023, after 2023 Malta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is an important thing. I think sticking with a coach, obviously, if they're the right fit for you, is so important anyway. And I think a common mistake a lot of lifters make is they'll have like one or two meets that maybe don't go quite to plan, and they'll just hop. And then obviously the new coach has to then find out what works for them. And then it's like starting the process again almost. How important do you think it was sticking with one coach that whole time to get you obviously to where you are now? Obviously now you're with Christian, who was a really good friend anyway, so he saw a lot of your training.
I think for me, it's always been, I'm a creature about it, right? When you tell me eat rice every day, I will eat rice every day. Do you know what I mean? That's how I am. So, and I don't look around the other pond and thinking, "Oh, who's doing amazing things, the athlete I can join, or which athlete is doing this. So what approach is he applying and can apply?" I don't know. For me, what's in front of me, what you've given me, that's what I stick with. I'm tunnel vision like that. So when I was with Joey, of course, I'm not saying all the approach, everything we did was wonderful. But for me, That's what was powerlifting. For me, that's what was strength. For me, that's what was progress. But especially that, of course, touch wood, you know, I am not an injury prone person, even though my training was unconventional, as other people call it when they've seen it on social media. But I was still turning up to everything. There's no single competition I've entered and dropped out in my life. Never. You know what I mean? So I didn't see the point of me jumping ship or changing to another person until, of course, I end up with Christian. But there's a reason beyond that, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like when I say to people, trust the process, I actually apply it. You got to trust the process, no matter how bad the programming is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying some programming out there you look at and think, oh, damn. No matter how bad it is, but if you trust the person is writing that bad program, and you trust yourself in terms of executing what has been written to the letter, there's always going to be even a slight progress in you. You know, it might not be as boom like everybody else, but it's always going to be there. So I don't agree with people jumping ship every single day that I see on social, I see around me. I really dislike that because it's almost like when you get a football team, they always say give the manager time. If you don't give yourself and your coach time, how can you actually see what you're capable of? So yeah, for me, like I've been in powerlifting. I only go to coaches, and I've been here for what 10, 11 years. So yeah.
Yeah, that's like actually quite an incredible stat. I want to talk to you about the injury thing because you mentioned you're not really injury prone. But before we do that, I just kind of want to ask as well. So, a bit unconventional when you've been in the sport for like 10 years now, but you played football up until around 16, 17, then you got quite a bad injury. You had 10 years of not doing really any sport.
Yeah.
And you still came into the sport. Obviously, the standards and stuff were very different back then anyway, but you still got into the sport at like a decent level. Did you not go to the gym or anything in that 10-year period?
No, because again, like people that don't know me outside powerlifting, I'm a nerd. Well, a book nerd. When I say book nerd, trust me, you have no idea. This is why I went to university. I did 2 degrees at the same time. Do you know what I mean? You ask, how did you do it? I don't ask. I literally did 2 degrees at the same time. So it's like when I'm focusing on something, that is the only that thing for me, nothing else, right? Because I don't have the capacity to multitasking a lot of things in my life. I don't even know how I do powerlifting. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I'm on the spectrum anyway. Do you know what I mean? I know people wouldn't say that, but I know it myself. So this is why I could not do any other sport, because when I wanted to be a professional footballer, right? Get myself to the level of a semi-pro, get myself to where every single week my dad is getting paid, right? Even though I never saw the checks after I got injured. But the reality is when that ended, he told me, go back to school and I want you to study. That's all. It was just school for me, nothing else, right? So did that from, of course, that 17 all the way I graduated 23 or so. And then when after graduation in my head is get a job. And then I got a job and I was just work. Go to work, come home, go work, come home. Because I was a developer. Go work, learn the new languages, come home. Go work, learn the new language, go home. So I did that all the way until, of course, 27, 28, when I had to go back to the gym. And yeah, the only reason I went back to the gym, it was not even about because I wanted to. One of the guy that was the house share I was living with, I was sharing a house. One of my roommates said to me, "Oh, I go to this gym here at the university. They have got a nice gym. If you have a university, what you call it, ID, you can get a discount." I was like, "Yeah, but I finished uni a long time ago." So he was studying there still. So he brought to me, "Oh, my friend want to join, and I got a discount." I'm like, "Okay, why not? It's only what 15 quid a month. Why not? Let me just start this." That's the whole reason I went to the gym. Otherwise, I wouldn't even go.
That's so funny. And then 10 years later, here we are. And like with everything else you've got going on, you're still fitting in time to powerlift at this level as well. I want to talk to you about the fact that because I was looking through your open powerlifting and stuff, and obviously 10 years in the sport, I've known of you since I started around 2018 time, because I think you were on the World's team around then, weren't you, as well? And like you've just been around ever since, literally. And I don't recall ever really seeing you talk about injuries and stuff. You mentioned your old man knees sometimes, but have you had any actual like injuries with powerlifting?
No. So if I can count an injury, again, I said, touch wood. If I can count an injury, I would say my first British nationals, you can see there, I got a DQ. I disqualified, I bombed out, right? So the story for that was, I competed on that first June or July. I did my first powerlifting meet, and the British nationals. It was in Morton College, the old Morton College, Blaise Kevin James. So that was in 2016? Yeah, 2016. My first British national. And all I wanted is I wanted just to go and share the platform with Owen Hubbard and Dan Bedford, because these two were the 283 that were presenting GB internationally, and they were competing at the national. I was like, oh, because when I started knowing about power, I was like, oh, I want to go and see these guys. These are the GB guys in my weight class. It would be incredible to share the platform with them, just seeing them. So in that prep, I snapped my back on the deadlift, right? It was literally 230. Did I'm a conventional puller, by the way. Sumo, I just have to join the party to be more competitive. I'm a conventional puller, by the way. So pull 230, my back tweaked a little bit. I was like, I carry on. And I sat down too long and I couldn't stand up. My back just locked. And of course, I had to do rehab because the British was coming, even though it was that. And I was like, no, I'll put my name down. Owen and Bedford will be there. I don't care how beat up I feel, I'm going to go. And then, of course, stupid me, I went to the competition. I squatted the PB, by the way. On the bench press, my handler started for me to open with my PB bench. And then me being injured, yeah, things went wrong.
Yeah, I just looked and I was like, oh, you bombed on bench. That's a weird one to bomb on. Obviously, normally it's like a squat depth thing. And then I looked like you hit in your first comp 3 months before, you hit 145 for your third, and then you opened at 152. Yeah.
So because in prep, I did 152, and then you were like, let's open over there. I was like, whoa. So that's what happened. So yeah, literally my back locked, no leg drive, and I'm not a bencher, right? You can say it's fine. I'm not afraid. I'm not a bencher. So when my back is not there, how do you expect me to push something that heavy? So yeah, that's where I bombed out. So, but that's the first and the last, of course, injury I got in from powerlifting, and yeah, I've been. This is why I tell people, if I was on drugs, I would be breaking every single day. You know what I mean? 10 years.
That's incredibly, but then it's smart training as well. I assume you just listen to your body, and obviously working with the same coaches for so many years, they know you well enough to just be smart with it. Yeah,
I mean, for me, I always say, Sean, is when I turn up to a gym, even when I was training at a commercial gym, when I thought I was at a commercial gym until 2020, during COVID. If I come in, if my body's telling me there's no way you can be lifting that, I pack my bags and leave. There are sessions where I warm up, I do the first set, the next set, take my knee sleeve off, put on my bag, I go home. People are like, what are you doing? I was like, no, my body's telling me not to do this. I go home. Because one thing I believe, right? I know the Americans and the rest of the world, they have to go this mentality. You need to be a dog. You know what I mean? There's no hardest worker in the room than me. I need to be the hardest worker. Believe me, my brain works harder than most of the people, right? But the reality, what I always say is, and I really stick to it, one day or missing a day of training session because my body's not allowing me is not going to add 10 kilo in my toe. You know what I mean? Hence why, like, I always said, 2.5 kilo next comp on my toe, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's what has kept me long, about making sure I listen to my body, what I'm capable of, not push things because, oh yeah, I'm resilient, I can do this. No.
Yeah, I think that's that bigger picture mentality as well, though. Like, you've been in the sport, and I think you're one of the go-to examples for anyone when they're talking about just keep going. It's a marathon, not a sprint, because a lot of people will be scared to miss one session. And obviously, I'm assuming it's quite a rare thing that you don't do exactly what's written down, because if your body doesn't feel up to it, you'll miss it. Whereas I think some people will see that as an excuse to miss a session every week. But some people are scared to miss one training day. And I've been guilty of it in the past when I've been really ill or something. And I'm just like, oh no, I'll train anyway. And like, I make it worse because I'm so worried about, or other people are so worried about and ruining that one particular training block. But actually, no, it's probably going to have more of an impact on your next training block if you just keep pushing through anything that either hurts or illness or anything. Look at it as a bigger picture thing. Like, for me, and I think you've said this before, like, you use British nationals as your marker of your progress each year kind of thing. Probably a little bit different with obviously the schedule and stuff now, but British for me is my most important competition every single year. So like, going into All England's now next month, I've had a few little injuries and niggles, and we had to really pull back training. So I've not done my usual prep into competition, but I'm healthy, and I'd rather do that than risk still being hurt in my prep into British, if that makes sense. And like, you have to think long term. Will pulling back training for a few weeks, will missing this one session that will keep me healthier impact my competition at the end of the year? Next year, whenever the big goal is? Probably not. And you have to think long term and not just this 1 week of training will be ruined if I miss this one session.
Yeah. So the way, like, I've been on this for 10 years, right? The way I look at my performance and progress, I don't look at comp to comp or me to me, big me to me. Me is 12 months calendar. Is the 12 months calendar ring, right? I don't care what that 12 months, how it looks like, right? For instance, if you ask me, reality, yes, I went to the World Games, I total A72.5, right? Everyone will see that, like, oh my God, that's a big total, right? And then I came to the Sheffield, I total A70. If you ask me like, about your A72 kilo, what total lifter? No, I'm an A70 kilo total. Because me, that 2.5 of the World Game, I don't even count it. Ask Christian, he will tell you. For me is, why did I do it last year Sheffield? If you look at my board in my gym, is that, why did I do it last year Sheffield? What's this year Sheffield is? Last year Sheffield, when I came in, I totaled like what, A52 or something like that, right? And this year at Sheffield, I totaled A70. I sat there, I'm thinking, hang on, I know I had the potential for the world record if everything pans out well, but it's a 17.5 kilo year-to-year PB for me here. That's enough. And next year, just imagine, if I come back next year, right, I do another 17.5, 20 kilo PB, we are talking about a 90 plus, right? Even though, like, of course, I'm sitting here, I have got goals for world, and I have got goals for the next Sheffield that's coming, or British. No matter what I total the world, no matter what I do at the next British or so, to me, those are not my progress or PB. I will be, even if I go and total 900, right? I'm not going to sit here trying to say to you, as oh yeah, I'm a 900 kilo total guy. This is where my progress is. No, I'll say to you, what's my 12 month is? I total 900 at world. What about if I turn up at the British, I hit 850? How the hell am I going to measure that? So I'm not going to say I'm a 900 kilo guy and I total 850. No. You know, it's a year to year for me. It's always been year to year. I can never go away and then lie myself and be delusional about these things, the way people talk, right? Because that's what's kept me long in the sport. Being a year to year guy, it's 2.5 kilo in a year to year. I'm happy. Anything that I total in the middle, thank you, fair enough. Wins me title, win me accolades, wins me contracts or whatever. I appreciate that. But in terms of as an athlete, my performance has always been year to year.
I think that's a really healthy way to look at it as well, because then if you have one meet that doesn't maybe go to plan, you're not going to be bogged down by it, because that's not the point.
Yeah.
It's a year. It's so funny to me, because I mean, if I put 17.5 on my total this year, I will be over the moon. But for some people that are younger and newer, they're so skewed by what like current like younger lifters coming up are doing that they think 17.5 sounds awful. But if you're doing 15, 20 kilos for 10 years in the sport, that's going to add up, like you say, and give yourself another year or two. Because yes, like the top end keeps rising and rising with like these new talents coming in. But if you just keep chipping away for long enough, so I have a joke with one of my friends. I'm like, I'll be a world champion one day because I'll just outlast everyone. It'd be
it's true. It's fact. Because the thing that's, you know, when I always say to people always say to me, oh yeah, but you know, you can't cheat time. Time is always going to catch up on you. Do you know, I always say to people, for me, it's here. Yes, I'm 37 years old, but my brain, it's just turned like 25. Right? So when you tell me about recovery time and you're old, no, I don't believe in these things. I really, China, the truth is, I really do not believe in time and me being old and these other people being young. I don't care. What you're capable, I'm capable too. You know, that's what my mind has always been, right? So because when you think about like, oh yeah, he's old, you can't do this. I said, yeah, I'm old, but I'm still on the same pool as you guys. We're still swimming on the same bloody lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I see it. So yeah, it's just patience.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like, I don't think the age thing is really a fair argument, because, you know, look what Shell's doing and Meg Scanlon and people that are in their mid to late 30s are doing. Obviously, that's not actually old in respect of the world, but for sport, people look at that and think that's like, oh, you're not going to keep progressing, you're going to have to give up at that point. Like, no, if you just know your body, you know how to train smart, and like you say, mentally, if you just tell yourself that you'll be fine, you're proving it's doable.
Yeah. And the funny thing, when you think about it as well, powerlifting age, when you think the guys, the kind of Perks, Borenstein, even Ashton and all of these Bob, when you think of the likes of them, powerlifting age, training age, we're pretty similar. Even though I'm 37, my training age, we're pretty similar. And training age, some of them are even got a longer training age than me, you know? And then what's so funny now, I know people listen to this will laugh. There are certain things in training, powerlifting, or gym going. I've only started doing them now. I've never done them before. And sometimes some of them, I didn't even know how to do them. It's only Christian now teaching me a few things I'm incorporating into my lift to make them efficient. So for me, it's almost like that's another thing I need to unlock.
Yeah.
If I unlock that, that's another progress I can add into whatever lift I have, right? So like we're talking about accessories. I started doing accessories when I'm a Christian. Even when I'm a Christian in the beginning, I was only doing 2 accessories a week. Do you know what I mean? And every single prep, we're adding one more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that one more was like, okay, let's add like upper body. You know, okay, this prep, let's add lower body. Like let's do some like Bulgarian squats. You know, it's only now that I'm starting doing high bar squat. It's only now that I'm starting doing stiff leg. I mean, you see me in my first stiff legs like 3 weeks ago. I was crying with 205. I didn't even know what to do with myself. And Christian was like 8 reps. After 6, I was like, Christian, this is gonna kill me. It's just because I was doing them wrong. You know what I mean? So I'm just starting to do these things now. You know what I mean?
Yes, there's still plenty of room to keep changing and just keep finding
Yeah.
new things to tick the total forward, which obviously is working. Something else I was intrigued by as well is I think I did know this, but I wanted to double check. You've been a lifetime 83. You've been in the same weight class this entire time.
Yeah.
And you don't struggle to make weight either, do you? Like, have you just, I mean, I guess starting later 20s, maybe, I don't know, you kind of already at your body's natural kind of setting point. But was there ever a point of thinking about changing weight class?
No, never. So I started like when I started powerlifting, you know, kid, you know, I was once at 59 kilo. Like I was 59 kilo once. But one day I said,
When you were 10?
Huh?
When you were 10?
No. No, I was 59 kilo until I was what? Until 20, was it 2016, just before I started powerlifting?
Yeah.
You know, I was 59. So yeah. Anyway, that's a long time ago. So yeah, even when I started, I was like 75, 77. And of course,
Yeah.
Joey told me to start eating a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I've spoken about my nutrition in powerlifting. I've only incorporated nutrition into my training only after the Arnold's in 2020. No, not even. Yeah, it was after the Arnold in 2022. That's when I got Kedrick in. But before, is like I didn't even know what nutrition was.
I remember you saying, wasn't it a thing? I remember you speaking on your podcast about it, that you just basically never used to really eat. You would just kind of whatever, didn't think about it. And then you obviously started with Kedrick. And funnily enough, your total kept going up too.
Yeah, because when Kedrick got started, Kedrick said to me, track your food, tell me what you eat every day. And then literally my calories was 900 to 1500 a day. Do you know what I mean? Because like, I don't know. I have got this metabolism and this. I can really and truly, I would say, is a blessing when it comes to my genes. I can wake up in the morning, right? Have a small banana, get in the gym. We'll get to that, right? We'll get it when we talk about training. Get to the gym and squat over 300 kilo for reps. I can do that. You know what I mean? And one thing as well for me, I don't rely, when people say, oh, I haven't eaten, my training will suffer. No. My body doesn't know that. My body does not know that, oh yeah, you need to eat before you train. You need to fuel yourself. No. My body only knows you wake up, there's training schedule, you need to get it done.
It's almost like this ignorance is bliss thing. I think that's where a lot of young lifters get away with so much because they don't know any better. Yeah. And if you it's like when people I will never track my sleep score and stuff, because if my sleep score is telling me that I've had a terrible night's sleep, I know I'm going to feel tired. And in my mind, I'll be like, oh, well, training will suffer because I'm tired. Like some of my best sessions are when I've just not had time to eat properly. Obviously, if you can get pre-workout nutrition in, great. You probably should. But the odd occasion where you don't, if you tell yourself your session's ruined, your session's ruined. But if mentally you can just go, oh, no, I'll be fine. Most of it is mindset, I think. Even with the progress thing where you said, being 37, you don't feel 37. I think a lot of that is just the mindset.
I agree. It's always about big mindset to me. So I think I've said this in a lot of podcasts. I don't want to be bringing you back to it, but I've said it I have been able to split a few personas within the person of Jurins, right? I have got me as a lifter, me as a worker, me as a father, me as a partner, me as a son and an uncle. And fun enough, these days with my sport therapist, we're starting to split me as a lifter on the platform. When I'm on the platform, I'm a different person. As soon as that bar say down, it's almost I forget if you ask me how was Sheffield on the platform, I can't remember, Sharon. I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you. How did those lifts feel? I can't tell you. Because I literally I think it's working what we've been doing. I step on a platform, I'm a different person. I step out the platform, I literally look back. I watch some of I never watch my competition, by the way. Never. I only see, of course, the snippet people's change and, of course, the FPD package. But me sitting there and watching the entire comp of me, I've never done that. Because I can't relate to that person I'm watching. I never do.
Did you not even watch Worlds win back?
No.
That was my favorite meet I've ever watched. I literally didn't know you personally at this point, but I swear to God, I'm not an emotional person, Jurins, at all. I am heart of stone. Genuinely was nearly crying watching that meet. It was the best meet I've ever seen.
Appreciate that. But I never watched the entire. Oh yeah, I watched, as I said, of course, the clips and the people doing highlights, and I've watched that. But me sitting there watching the whole thing, no, because again, as I said, I can't relate myself to that person. I can't. I tried, literally, I can't.
Do you know what? I think that's really interesting because something I say to it was our East Midlands Masters and Novices comp at the weekend, and I had a few people doing their first ever comp, and I remember saying to them, because they were really worried about the crowd and having the refs right in front, and I was like, you won't notice. You'll walk off the platform after squats are done, and you probably won't even remember doing them, because I have this thing as similar to what you kind of described of, I have no idea what happens when I'm on the platform. I know, obviously, in the moment I'm focusing on the lift, whatever, but I couldn't tell you if there was any noise. All I know is I hear the commands, and that's literally it. There is nothing else in my brain that I'm focusing on when I'm on the platform. So I do kind of get that. And I never watch my meets back either, apart from just to see how things moved.
No, I never. For me, I always say most of the things, especially when they meet, people intend to analyze it, because I've been to many international. I've seen people in the background where they did a squat. They go in the background and they have the handle of the phone. Let me see how that open and move. They're watching it. For me, it's look, I pay people for this shit, right? Christian look, so are the training and the programming. Kedrick is the food. So it's you guys to watch that and get the data and make sure you do something better. It's not, no matter, even it won't change nothing to me. That's all.
Yeah, I think as an athlete, a lot of people need to, I'm guilty of this as well. I'm such a control freak, but on comp day, you just tell me what is on, you don't need to tell me what's on the bar. You put in what you think on the bar and I'll just go out and do my best to lift it. It's a really good mindset to just get in of, it's not my job to pick the numbers. It's my job to lift what you put on the bar. That's the handler's job on the day. And I think when you pass that control over, you tend to do better anyway, because you're not overthinking it. And I will never sit and watch my lifts back mid-meet, because I know I'll then, if it moves slightly slower than I thought or something, that's then in my head the whole time.
Yeah 100%. So I because I always say I'm not attached to a lift. I am not. I miss a lift, I laugh it off. That's it, right? I think one of my worst comp in history was Malta 2023. I was going to that comp as the strongest 83 in the world, right? Because I knew what I was doing in training was ridiculous. How can you total what? I taught a 20 in March at the British.
Yeah.
During that prep, I hit 825 or something like that in comp. And I tell them in the meet, I did 790. Do you know what I mean? That's the meet where people should have said, yeah, he was on drugs. Look, how can you do that when he comes today and drop 30 kilos? That is definitely recycling. That's the meet where people should call out, not the Russ one. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that is the worst meet of my life. But what helped me is the mindset of not being attached to a competition or a lift.
Yeah.
As soon as I dropped my last deadlift, I looked at Paul, we laughed off. I was like, mate, have you got that cigar? Let's go and smoke a cigar. I was done. And the next day, I was literally in Malta. I brought my family in on a holiday. It's like I never left.
Yeah.
It's gone. Because
Yeah.
for me, it's almost, there is always another comp anyway. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. Next year is another world championship. I'm going to come in. So
But
that's how it's always been.
that is why you've been around so long, though, because you don't like if you're all like completely attached to one specific goal, one specific meet, and then it goes wrong, you're gonna just hate the sport. Whereas if you can just shrug it off the next day, move on, life carries on, fantastic. It's not obviously the same, but like I've had a few meets in a row now where I've been really disappointed with the outcome. And I had a really bad session the other day, and I said to my boyfriend, I was like, "Oh, if I have another really bad meet," and he was like, "What if you have another really bad meet?" I went, I guess I'll just do another one later this year. Like there is, it doesn't actually like, yeah, it's great to have good meets. Obviously, that's kind of the point and the goal. But if you can learn to just shrug it off because you're in the sport for the long haul, you're gonna have a lot more fun along the way.
Yeah, I mean, this was another one, right? So Rome was not built in one day. Do you know what I mean? The thing is, like I always say to people, we all aiming for the same destination, but we have got different journey, right? Doesn't mean because that person has reached there faster than you, you're not gonna reach there. Do you know what I mean? That's bullshit. Do you know what I mean? That's bullshit. And I don't believe in those things, saying, oh, I'm young, I'm old, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm this, I'm heavy, I'm light. There's no weight class in the jungle, mate. Do you know what I mean? We all literally like eat or be eaten. Simple as that. You'll get there, you know. You might be faster than me, but I will get there eventually. That's the mindset I have.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I wanted to ask you as well. So obviously we've mentioned a few times, you've been around a while, you've achieved some great things. I wanted to ask you what the actual highlight of your like powerlifting career is so far.
The highlights I would say is, don't get me wrong, I know people say you're only saying it because you've done it all. I always say to people, I've done it all. There's not a meet I haven't done, right? Done all the meets on the planet. Powerlifting, IPF, sanction, internationals. I've done them all. The World Games, right? The reason I'm saying that is you have to participate. You have to be in it to understand it, right? And especially me, I didn't just do the World Games. I won the World Games, and I didn't just win the World Games, and I was the athlete of the day at the World Games. So the experience, literally, I went through the whole cycle. The experience of just being a competitor is different. The experience of being the winner is different. And the experience of winning the athlete of the day is different. You know what I mean? And then, of course, me and the team who were in China, we went through all of that. And then, I kid you not, you're probably going to get some of the guys that went to the World Game and they came here on your podcast. That experience, if you told me that day, after one day, after the day, you told me like, now the powerlifting is done, I would have said to you, thank you very much. I've done it all. I'm done. Peace. You know what I mean?
To be honest, obviously, I was just going to say, like, even without being there, seeing the spectacle of it, I'm not surprised that's your answer. Like, not at all. Even if you came last, I wouldn't be surprised if it was your answer, let alone everything else stacked on top.
Oh, 100%. Look, for me, the only reason I named the experience and the accolades, because, of course, I achieved them. Beside the accolades, just the spectacle of that World Games and everything around there. Look, I've been to Sheffield twice, and I've said it to the Sheffield organizer and everybody, even the team leads. I said, look, I've been to the World Games. One thing we're forgetting, Sheffield is a brand. SPD, the brand. The World Games is China. It is China, the country. Do you know what I mean? Not the brand. So it means they pour the resources into it. They give you a different perspective. Yes, Sheffield goes at the top of everybody's list because Sheffield is focused on powerlifting. They know what powerlifters want, they know what powerlifting needs, and they provide them. The World Games is not about just powerlifting. It is the World Games, right? And I think Christian said it. In China, I felt like I was earning £100,000 a week. You know what I mean? So it was I'm sorry, mate. I cannot explain this. I think that is the experience that will live on with me until I die. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And this is coming from someone that's done it. I've done Sheffield twice, as I said. Do you know what I mean? So, and I know the experience at Sheffield both times. And I'm not saying Sheffield is bad. No. Bar the World Games, Sheffield is the best powerlifting meet on the planet, probably in history. I'm just talking about the event as the World Games is different.
Yeah, but you can see that within it. And like you say, it's not just like Sheffield is a spectacle and it's an incredible thing. And like, I can't even imagine the feeling of competing there. But the World Games, like you say, it was it was like the Olympics, but not quite there yet, right? Like the closest thing we've got. And the way China hosted it was another level in itself, like another level. And you could just see that from being
they put every resources in that thing. It was crazy. It was crazy. Our Commonwealth don't even want to come close.
No. It looked insane. It looked insane. I'm intrigued to see if, I'm assuming we'll hopefully be in the next one as well. I think it's in Germany.
Yeah, in Germany. Next one is in Germany. So I've asked already some of the contacts I have. It looks like we will definitely be there.
Good.
Well, because there was a doubt whether Classic is going to be there or not, but it looks like they will still go slot for Germany. So until the decision is made again by 2029. So yeah, good luck to the young ones. So yeah.
And you. Do you, so you know, as we've said, you've competed at literally every comp there is at the highest level, and not just now either. Like you were at Worlds back when powerlifting was very different back when, you know, 2017, 2018, 2019, completely different sport to what it's like now. But you were at Worlds across all those years, and obviously you've done Sheffield a couple of times, you've done World Games. Do you think like world titles and those accolades, you know, obviously they hold a lot of merit and they're incredible achievements, but do you think it's actually more impressive, the longevity aspect? Because I think we spoke about this briefly kind of in DMs, but like people I think forget like how long you've been around. Obviously you've got one world title, but you've been at the World Championships since what, 2017, 18 all the way through to now, and you're still securing your spot on Team GB year after year. And like to be able to stay at that level and still progress, like we said, 17.5 kilos roughly on your total last year, 10 years into the game. Do you think that holds more merit than like the accolades themselves, these people that have been around a few years that are obviously already at the top type thing?
100%, especially the person that doesn't do powerlifting for a check. You know what I mean? So for me, if you do powerlifting for a check, then go a quick turnaround again with world because you need more money. Or as the Americans say, you need the bag. But unfortunately for some of us, my back is already heavy. I don't need to put another bag on it. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, what I'm saying for me, longevity is more important than accolades, because accolades comes within that longevity, but accolades do not bring longevity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's how I see it as. So that's more important to me. You know, I'm going to World for my 7th World Championship. Missed it 2021 because we just had a baby. I couldn't do it. So I said, no, I'm sorry, I can't make it. But again, I was invited in the team. So we're talking about it would be my 8th World Championship. So for me, like longevity is everything. Right? Yeah. The rest comes after. You know, the rest is just basically, it's just bits you add into the cake, right? Bits and pieces. So that's how I see it as.
Yeah, I like what you said about how, you know, longevity will give you accolades, but accolades won't give you longevity, because I think so many people are in such a hurry, linking back to what we said earlier about, you know, you're in it for the love of the game, essentially. Like this isn't your career, like this is your hobby that obviously you take very seriously for a hobby, and it's brought you some incredible things, but at the end of the day you have a very full life outside of it. Like you're literally doing it for the love of the game. And actually I think people that get really quickly to the top, they often don't last because they're just chasing accolade rather than, oh well, I went badly, but I really enjoy this, so I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. So it's the thing is like, there's one thing that I've said to someone once, right? He asked me, so like, oh, when are you gonna retire? My question has always been like, why should I retire? Oh yeah, because you've done it. Oh, I was like, yeah, but the plan, the objective was not about doing it all or winning it all. No, that was yes, it have happened, thank God. But I'm start doing it because I love it, and I'm still loving it. So I wouldn't retire until I feel like I love of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's how I see it as.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's if you find the joy in doing it, why would you think about quitting?
Yeah.
And if there's a time in life when you just don't really want to do it anymore,
yeah,
you've done everything there is to do anyway, right?
Me, I always say when the day my missus said to me, drop the bar, I'll drop the bar, no matter whether he's in the middle of the comp or in training, what is it gonna be? It's like stop, I stop, we're done.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so, no, that's completely fair. And like you have other things that you need to prioritize in life. Like this is a hobby at the end of the day, very serious hobby, but still a hobby. I also wanted to ask you, so we are not giving opinions on the topic, but you are an international level lifter. You have been for a very long time. So you are in the is it Adam's watch list, where you have to give your whereabouts. And recently within GB, I think everyone listening will know there's been a few whereabouts failures, and we are not giving opinions on it. But I thought, since you're here, you were a good person to basically just ask and give people the information of how it actually works, like having to give your information, the whereabouts updates and everything. Like, how does that work?
So for me personally, I've been on it since 2021. Right? We're talking about 7 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? I know. Is it 5 years? 5 years. Sorry, 5 years since I've been on it. Right. I got the first email, Vastras, European Vastras in December. So the way it works is, of course, they send you an email, IPF send you an email saying, of course, you're going to be in the watch list, and they link to the app. You download the app, you fill your details, and every single quarter, you need to tell them, basically, it's literally tell them where you are every single day, every quarter. And it's so easy to update as well. If you're, let's say, like for me, if I'm going, let's say I'm going to change my, as I mentioned to you before the record, I said, okay, because of my schedule's change, I'm about to change my slot and my whereabout on the day. You go in the app. I normally do mine on the night before I go to bed, if I'm changing location tomorrow. The day, the time where I'm going to be, the address where I'm going to be, and then my new slot, and you change it. So what I would say is, yes, there is a lot of admin around there. It become a little bit daunting task in terms of admin. It's admin heavy. But again, we have time to jump on social media. I mean, it's 2 minutes. It's the exact same thing. So as someone is getting like for all these GBs miss stuff that has been happening, for me, I would say this. If you're getting in the system for the first time, there's not enough education or enough information of what actually you need to do. Yes, they send you an email with a lot of attachment. You don't even know what link to go to. I think that's the only thing I'm thinking. The education piece and that part, especially for the beginners, have to be locked down. Do you know what I mean? Some of us, of course, we've been on there for a very long time. I already know what to do. It's easier. You know what I mean? So it's really, if I miss a test, I don't know whether I've been hit by a bus or something, right? But it's just easy for me to update. But people that are coming into the system, I kind of understand that pretty much that frustration of making sure they get on the line. But saying that, as I said, is all about admin. If you sit there and read what the instructions are, you will get your name on it, you'll get your details on it. But I think in terms of like the Fed and everything else, we just need a little bit of an education piece at that place, especially with the new names that are coming in on that list. So yeah.
Yeah, but then I guess one of those things as well, like with Team GB, at least from an outside perspective, you all know each other. You're all close. I'm sure it wouldn't be a hard thing to ask another athlete if you were confused. Again, I'm not giving opinions on it all, but like, just for anyone that maybe was daunted by it. Because the thing is, well, what's really cool with GB at the moment is because of the way the international schedule is now, it used to be that you guys, all that were doing Worlds, would also do Euros, because obviously European is so prestigious. But now we have a much bigger team because a lot of you guys are having to skip Euros to prioritize other comps, which means we have a whole new team going to Euros a lot of the time, which I assume that a lot of them will also be in the pool. I don't know exactly.
No. The way it works, I think, to be in the pool, not everybody that in the international team is in the pool. Doesn't work like that. Okay. It doesn't work like that. So when I got in the pool, I think the time when I got in the pool, it was me, PC, and Joy.
Okay.
It was only three of us, right? And then, of course, Habit comes in. And then after that, of course, Bobby has come in. Because like the team, we have a full team now. I mean, there's more Christian and everybody. I don't even think Christian or Mo or they are in the pool. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not saying they should be in the pool or why they're not in the pool, but not everybody are in the pool. There are specific lifters that are in the pool that they put in the pool. Maybe, I don't know whether it's the Fed that recommend them or not. I have no idea where it works. But whether have got a specific list of lifters in the pool. I think last time I checked, the one that was released, it was me, Ade, Bobby, and of course, Nathaniel, TJ, Joey, Nonso, Goka. I think that's so really. And
Yeah.
Ziana was on the pool as well. So that's all really. So again, but when you think about it, we have got so many international, but only these specific one on the pool. That's how it works. So yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't actually know that. I also wasn't aware that it was like, obviously it makes sense that you can kind of update it whenever, but like say, if you know you're going to be doing something different the next day, you can just go in and update it on the app pretty easily the night before.
Yeah, it is like you go on is the app, isn't it? You just go on the app, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you do that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that makes total sense. And I think it's just important to explain because I think a lot of people are speculating different things, but they don't actually know how it works. So it felt like it was worth just kind of talking through. Something else I wanted your opinion on. I didn't prep for this. If the account on Instagram, is it Grind Act2 and Presser Powerlifting made a post, and I think I saw you comment on it. It was about ranking the American, domestic American totals versus originally, I think they did the European Championship totals, which obviously Europeans this year, as we kind of said, it didn't have all of our best lifters across Europe because people are prioritizing different things. Still incredible lifters, obviously. But then they changed it to the best European totals versus the best American totals. And I'll just say my thoughts on this. Like, my instant thought was, that's cool, but the standards at powerlifting American nationals and a lot of the lifters have come out and agreed, were not quite the same as an international comp, especially Euros.
Yeah.
Especially Euros.
Look, people bash me, right? People listen to this, they'll bash me because I've already heard in King of the Lift. You know what I mean? They made a the King of the Lift, I think it was 2 Light Media. They made a reference, or some of the Europeans are complaining about this. I know it's just me. It's me that put a message on that post. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Though. I didn't say anything, but I agreed. If that helped.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So basically, what I'm saying is there is always this narrative of people saying, we already know America is the greatest country in the world, is the biggest country in the world, the strongest country in the world, the richest country in the world, the life expectancy is longer than everybody else. America is the first country that will get to heaven before everybody else, right? They're the ones that open the door for us. We know that. That's the narrative around the world, right? But in powerlifting, there is narrative people are just selling. Look, I've been in the sport for 10 years. I've been in international for many, many years. I know you cannot hide it for the fact the American are the force. They the ones to beat every single class. On the women, on the men's side, even though the women are doing really well across the world, but when Americans are coming, they're the ones to beat. And Shine, there's a reason beyond that, but people forgetting that reason. They're just throwing the narrative of being the best in the world or the best that ever lived. For me, what was pissed me off on that is Europe has got individual countries. I don't care whether you compare American GB, American France, American Italy. I don't give a shit. But do not get an entire continent comparing one country. That's so disrespectful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what came number one. And number two, you're forgetting one thing, right? Yes, Europe, we have got a lot of countries, a lot of lifters. Yes, even if you put our lifters together, America is still better. But you're forgetting in Europe, we have a culture. I start powerlifting at 28. Your boring team start powerlifting after his nappies. Do you know what I mean? Hurt. He started powerlifting at like 14. Ashton Ruska was like 15.
Yeah.
Right? These European elites, ask one of us that started powerlifting at the age of 17 or 14. It's only now that we're getting the opportunity. The culture in Europe, I'm sorry about ranting this, but the culture in Europe in sport is different than in America, right? Yeah. Eric Ems from King of the Lift said it well. Are you forgetting over there? It's part of actually the curriculum at school. They have that. We don't.
In the UK as well, like, I'm sure it's probably similar in Europe. Most gyms don't let you in the door until you're at least 16. Like, even like I played sport growing up. I wasn't allowed in a gym. allowed in a gym. And obviously the thing is with these posts as well, and I think we both are the same with this, it's sports talk. Like, we're allowed to fight back a little bit, but it's still jokey, like it's sport talk. But there is that thing of also the women's side. I'm pretty sure women on the men's side,
but they didn't highlight the women. Even when you listen to those podcasts, they didn't even talk about, look at how Europe are dominant. Only one woman in America was Amanda Lawrence holding the fort. But the rest, they've been cooked. Do you know what I mean? But the highlight is only on the men's side. For me as well, at the same time, I'm thinking like, but those what's the diversity and the inclusion here? Yeah, you talk about the men, we are so weak compared to you guys, but what about our women?
Obviously I saw the post, and the post literally showed it was the exact same split but opposite ways round. I think on America it was 7 out of 8 weight classes the men had, and on the women's it was 7 out of 8 that the women had from Europe, and no one's talking about that part. But I mean, I don't know the sports culture over in America for women as much. Obviously, with the men, there's a lot of American football, like wrestling and stuff is super popular. So they're all in the gym from that age, doing like from such a young age doing that. But I don't know if there's such a big thing for the women, which would explain why in Europe the women are doing better.
Yeah, but the other same thing as all you said about the standards, right? I'm not sitting here saying people listen to this thing like I'm crucifying the Americans lifters. No. You know, we compete against them a world. Some of them, of course, they always come and beat us. It means the standards are great to those lifters, to those world class lifters, right? But in terms of the nationals, you can't just sit there and compare that national to the Euros and standard. You can't do that. Whether the Euros, like, of course, there's less lifters going there because the quality is not there on the lifters, but the standards still the bloody same.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The standards are the same. You know, I will bring him back to people in 2022. Emil bombed out. Emil Krastev bombed out. Anna bombed out. Gustav end up with 1 squat.
Yeah.
You know, we all started thinking like, what the heck is going on here? You know what I mean? So even though, like, I don't know that year, even Europe wanted to make a point, I have no idea. But anyway, what I'm saying is that the standards are different, you know, and again, I'm not saying the people that put on that list, their lifts are not up to standard. I'm just saying, like, stop spinning that narrative. The US, the European. There are a lot of external around there we're not considering. You know, most of these Europeans, we are no full-time powerlifters.
But also, we are technically the same, because on the women's side, we win. On the men's side, the Americans win, and it was literally even. So I was like, no, actually, we're all kind of even. But obviously, that's not an interesting sports narrative.
Also, are you hearing the narrative about some people saying, oh, America, this is the rest of the world? So basically, the US brings a team, the rest of the world, you get your team together, you go and compete against the American. I'm thinking that, okay.
I don't think the Americans have that. When you think about, like, even on the women's side, like New Zealand, and the men as well, like New Zealand, Australia have some phenomenal lifters. Like, it would be it would be fun to watch. It would be fun to watch.
But look, it's cool. I love it. You know, I love data. I love graphics. Even when that story was released, post, I put my comment. The guy, because I know the guy that run the account, he said to me, oh yeah, but this is just basically, we're just looking at how Europe is, the standards, you know, the quality of Europe is going down. I was like, the quality, yes, fair enough. We have to do work with the European Championship. Where they put it in March is a worst time for us.
Yeah.
You know, especially when we had Sheffield, you go Euros and you go World. Yes. People go to me and say, yeah, but you do the turnaround when you beat Ross within 12, 13 weeks, you've done it. I was like, yeah, but that's me. That's not everybody.
But also, that's not long-term thinking. You can do that maybe every couple of years, you can get away with it. But if you're going to do that every single year and compete every 3 months, every year, where are you having time to build? Also, spend time with your family and maybe take your foot off the gas a little bit. Like, there's a lot of things that come into it. And, you know, some people can get away with competing frequently, but you can't get away with that for 10 years.
Yeah, they have to change the calendar. If they change the calendar, probably will change. But anyway, I know I've ranted too much about that post, but this is what my thought around it was like, how is that even fair? And people, again, are forgetting the narrative that we are not all full-time powerlifters, especially the Europeans.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Americans are all full-time, but the heavy hitters in America, they live and eat and sleep powerlifting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because no one can come and tell me otherwise. Of course, I'm not talking about Ashton, you know, I'm not talking about the rest, you know, a Taylor. But, you know, the outliers, this is what they do. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I know you listen to like most of the powerlifting content. So after Powerlifting America, when Ryan, King of the Lifts, and White Lights did the podcasts and Cranen was on, obviously Cranen did like insane performance in the 76s. And I remember, because she's an influencer, she's got other priorities and whatever else. And I remember Ryan being like, but are you all in on powerlifting yet? Because I know you weren't before. And she was like, well, not really. No, like I still have all my other stuff going on. In my mind, I was like, most people aren't all in on powerlifting because it's still a hobby. Like there are the Americans, especially, I think, have quite a lot of examples of like even like a Joe. Joe is an easy example. Obviously, he's your weight class, easy example. He coaches around 30 lifters, I think he said when he was last on here. But for the most part, he's got a pretty free schedule to train whenever he wants, sleep 10 hours a night. Like he talks about that quite a lot. And I'm like, that's great for him. That's not me shitting on that at all. But asking a lifter if they're all in on powerlifting and then being surprised when they say no, most of the top level powerlifters around the world aren't all in on powerlifting because they have jobs. And
but the narrative shine only suits the Americans.
Yeah.
When they're not all in on powerlifting, when they're flying hours, when they're working full hard time writing program for the client, people forgetting some of us are flying in the country and land in 2 hours later, I'm in the gym training. The next morning, I'm out at the airport flying again.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to influence the mass or to influence people. No, I'm actually going to work for the man. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, I mean, the narrative to me, like, I'm just tired of it. And then it's frustrating because when you did the podcast with Joey, I think you saw my stories on Instagram. Probably you want to ask. I'm sure you haven't.
Do you know
asked
how
this.
many of my friends were like, have you really pissed off Jurins? Is he really mad at you? I was like, I don't think so.
No, not even. So what actually, I love the debate. I love the sports conversation around it. I even spoke to Joey, Joey after. Me and Joey, we talk often. For me, what actually pissed me off was when he said, me competing against him, being him, has benefits me. That's fine. If he has benefit, that's almost like disrespectful to me, right? Personally, because I'm not in this sport for the same reason that everybody are. You know, some of these people come in, they need a win. As I said, to have the bag, they need a win to get something out of it. I come to this sport for fun. I just need to be happy. Right? So beating you, losing does not change that objectives. That's what I said. Right. So that's why the difference between the mindset of things and the way everything things are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, like, I always want to say this. We are athletes. This is our sport. We need to elevate the sport. Sport talk needs to happen, which is fuel the sport. It's fine. But I always said there's a line to it.
Yeah.
There's a line to it. And even when Joey said, like, oh, I want people to put me in a conversation over 900. Did I ever say to people I got 900 kilo in me and put me in a conversation? What I say to people is the world record is there for the take. Records are there to be broken. I'm training to break a world record. I'm training to get that. If you go 900 to go 1,000 kilo, you go quicker than me. I don't care. Me, one day I'll get that in my own pace, right? But again, I'm just wanna literally like set the record straight here, right? Love competing in powerlifting. Love competing against everybody else out there. But I'm nobody's enemy. You know what I mean? Even though in their mind, some of them are creating me being the enemy in their mind, I am not. Do you know what I mean? And even when I do the post, when I post stuff, it's not against anybody else. Do you know what I mean? It's not me telling people what I think or what's happening. No. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I know when we're in that platform, I was talking to Ade. As soon as they said bar is loaded, I just want to murder the guy on the platform. But as soon as they said done, I turned about and said, Ade, please, you got to make that lift. Because my time is done. Do you know what I mean? My time is done. So my competitiveness mindset comes in when they say bar is loaded. At that point, I don't care who you are. You know what I mean? But as soon as they say done, oh, I miss my bench like I always do. I'm like, shit. Ade, go and get yours, bro. You know what I mean?
This is where I think powerlifting is still so new that like the sports talk thing people don't get. Like they really still struggle. And I I was recently making jokes on my story. Bench is my best lift. My other lifts aren't great. But I was joking on my story that I was going to Larsen press more than other people's maxes. And obviously that wasn't directed at anyone specifically. But people got really annoyed with me because I was encouraging competitiveness amongst women in powerlifting. And I was like, it's literally the point of the sport. Like, we should be having these sports talks. And like, when I asked you, Joe, about you and stuff, and like vice versa, I was talking about him now. You have to create a bit of a narrative around the sport.
Oh, yeah.
But, as you've said, like with me, with the people I compete against, I love the game. I love the sport. I want to win. That's kind of the goal. But if I don't, I'm still happy because I've enjoyed the sport and I've enjoyed being part of it, right? And that enjoyment factor, I think people think you can't have the competitiveness sport talk and still just respect each other and enjoy competing at the same time.
Yeah. So it's just like we need to elevate the sport. As I said, if we have to elevate the sport doing this on social media, so be it. But as I said, like, we have to do it in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Which
100%.
I understand, because because the reality is, like, people run away with these sound bites. They make things out of it. Because some people like me, like, realistically, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I'm a very important person at work. And when these things are going on, the memes going on left, right, and center, people talking about work's put me through media training.
Yeah.
Right. And work listened to my podcast and look, this is what this is the structure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they want me to do it, but at the same time, don't forget, there's a different persona of you here.
So after today's podcast, you won't be working with any Americans anytime soon.
Could be. So yeah, so it's just like we need to know and have a structure how to do it. That's all.
Yeah, and I think there's a professionalism with it as well, isn't it? Like, we're not boxers, we're not fighters, we're not in MMA. Like, there needs to be a level of professionalism within it.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth saying as well, as far as I can tell, and as far as other people say, like, we all get on with each other in this sport. Like,
100%. Because as soon as like the meet finish, we're friends. You know what I mean? We all, like, people think that we're not enemies. You know what I mean? Even when I was saying to people in Lithuania, when I saw Russ coming back for the first time, I wanted to give him a hug, but he gave me a look. I almost died. But when we finished comp, yes, it was painful for him what he was going through. But we sat there, me, him, and his dad, we chat and all of that. The next day, he came back in. We were having fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like, yes, competition happened yesterday, was tough, but we all like each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can want the best. Obviously, you want the best for yourself. You want to win. You want to achieve these things. But that doesn't take away from if someone else wins. Like, I think I remember hearing him speak about it after you won. He was like, he also deserved to win. Like, I'm not upset that he won. Like, he puts all this work in. He also deserves to win. And that's, I think, a really nice, healthy way to look at it that I think people don't realize is doable while also being competitive.
Mm-hmm.
We'll wrap up soon, but I did just want to ask you. So your next meet is Worlds. You've been posting a bit of training and it's all looking good. Just want to have a bit of a check-in of how things are going with the lead up to Worlds.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate in terms of like, it's almost like, as I said, everything we try is just click with me, you know, so I've been fortunate in that respect. So this time, the approach to the World Championship is more about we're doing less for more. What I mean, less like we're prioritizing recovery. So you know what's crazy is like, you look at your block, you look at what's been prescribed, how the hell am I going to go through this? But the tweaks that Christian has made, and of course, Kedrick on the nutrition side, because I'm someone like, of course, like I'm, as I said, a creature of habit, I follow things letter to letter. So I follow that, and then the next thing is just like, wow. You know, and then last block, as I mentioned in my story, for me to go through like 290 kilo for 5 reps, doing it 2 or 3 times within 2 to 3 weeks is mad. Do you know what I mean? Because in the past, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I could do doubles or singles, but we're talking about 5 reps of that amount of weight. And and especially the timings now I'm training is just ridiculous. But in terms of the overall training, squats are looking very, very, very strong. Deadlift, Jesus Christ, is a blessing. Bench press, I'm not gonna lie, is one of them ones like, we're still waiting and see. We still got 2 blocks, right? See, because we haven't not started doing the singles yet. We're still on the triples and 5s and that. So I don't know where bench press is, but everything is looking decent.
Good.
Decent leading to that. So yeah, feel good, healthy, and body weight is on point. So yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Do you cut much for weight or not really?
No, so we intend now to be. This is, I think, is the first comp where I'm trying to stay in that 86 if I
Yeah.
can. I'm really trying my hardest here. For Sheffield, I think it was 84, 585 where we cut from. So this one we're trying to do it at 86. See how I feel doing 3 kilos. So yeah, leading to it. So again, all of this is like unknown territory for me. Probably that's why I'm doing those 290 for fives
Yeah.
because of the body weight as well. So yeah, that's where we are.
Just curious as well, like, considering you've sit at the same weight class this whole time, you're like struggling to stay at 86. I'm assuming you don't get a lot of steps in the day with a desk
No,
job.
I mean I've been sitting here since 7:30. Do you know what I mean?
Those
Literally, so,
genetics, I want some of them. That's crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. And I have got a treadmill that I
Yeah.
normally, because Kendrick want me to get that 6 to 10,000 steps daily. I don't get to 6,000, 10,000.
Crazy.
I don't. So yeah, I'm trying my best to get as many
Maybe
steps as
there's
I
a
can.
secret in this, because I'm sure Russ recently said that he was doing like 2,000 steps a day until recently. And obviously, you're both big squatters. Maybe not steps. No steps
Yeah,
at all is the key.
I struggle with steps. I really struggle. So sometimes I had to get on my treadmill like at 10 p.m. just because if you go midnight, schedule could be like you done 3,000 or you done 1,000. So yeah, I had to force things sometimes. So yeah, I don't get many steps in the day at all.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm not that surprised. You desk job, not that surprising, but that's quite funny.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else really to chat through. I want to start wrapping up because I know you are working / have meetings and stuff coming up. But anything I've missed? Anything you want to talk through?
No, it's just like, as I said, thanks for having me. The work you're doing, because one thing is I always say, I love the sport, I love powerlifting, right? It's not about me being on a platform enjoying the lift, it's just enjoying the process. And we want to grow the sport, and one person would not grow the sport, right? We all have to contribute to it. Some of us are contributing to the sport on the platform. You're a coach, I'm not. I say I will never want to be a coach, never. And of course, some of us have got podcasts, whether people like my podcast or not, but it's a way for us to just get the message out there to say, look, we are here, we exist. Do you know what I mean? So that's how. So I just want to say, Karen, doing what you're doing is a great job. So love listening to the podcast. I literally listen to pretty much all the British podcasts in powerlifting. So yourself and of course the Barbell BS, the boys are doing an amazing job too. So yeah, I think it's just like we just need to start doing more of this, right? In terms of like making sure people are getting the right message out there, not just the clicks and the follows, but the message. The right message, right? And I know some people focus the podcast on what we call it, on the sound bites, which is fantastic. We'll get you the clicks, get you the message out there, but let's not deviate from the messages as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
I think we need a mix of it, don't we? We need to have it
Yeah.
all. And we have to have it all mixed in. I think it's also important as well, just while we're kind of talking about giving back to the sport kind of through social media, which I think we both do as much as we can. Probably underrated also giving back to the sport in person. So this is just going to be, because I know you help, like, especially I've not seen many greater London meets recently anyway, but I know you have always been like part of platform crews and stuff like the whole time, always volunteering where you can. Like, I'm reffing wherever I can. And I just maybe want to put a little bit of a note out to people that maybe aren't volunteering within their region. Give it a go, because that will also help grow the sport. If you don't want, like, none of us owe the sport anything, but obviously helping the sport grow as much as possible with the growth of the sport, we also need more volunteers and stuff as well. And like, I love volunteering, and I'm sure you do as well.
Oh yeah, it's a volunteering sport. We have to grow the sport, and no one else will do that for us.
Yeah.
So we have to help when we can, especially in our division. Because people always say, yeah, our division don't have good meat. Our division don't have. I said, how many times have you volunteered? To me, like, look, don't get me wrong. For the past year, last year is a crazy year for me. All right, I did like 5 competitions last year. You know what I mean? And plus, what I have outside powerlifting, it was crazy. Right, but still, I found one day to go and volunteer. So I'm sure people can do that. Do you know what I mean?
It's also fun. People forget, like, it's not just volunteering, like, to the selfless act. Like, it's also fun. Like, go and just get involved with your local powerlifting.
100%. And then, funny enough, I do get invited to even gyms. Right, I go for just, oh yeah, can you come to my gym for just a talk? look, I'm not someone that will sit there and tell people what to do about powerlifting, because I can't even teach myself powerlifting. But I go and talk about my experience when people ask me things like, how have you stayed long in these sports? How do you manage this? How do you manage that? I try to share as much as I can. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, love of the game. That's how you've been here for 10 years. That's how you'll be here for 10 more.
Oh yeah, trust me. Me and Tony Cliff will be moving with our Zimmer frame. It was like, Tony, come on, it was hard, mate. Come on, let me decide. I've got a squat to do.
That's how it should be. No, thank you so much for joining me. Like, really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for having me. So I appreciate you. Thank you.